What up, what up? Welcome back to Millionaire Voices, episode number 19. Today, I have the honor of interviewing my friend, the CEO of the United Recovery Project, Bryan Alzate. He happens to be an old neighbor of mine when I grew up, and he's became a huge, successful entrepreneur and businessman, and has such an inspiring story. So I'm so blessed to have you on the show. So without further ado, welcome, Bryan.
What up, bro? What's going on?
A lot of great things, because I have the opportunity to speak to people like you who are an inspiration to myself and the world. And then I get to hear from you so that we can learn. So usually how we start this show is I like to know where Bryan Alzate is from. Ironically, we grew up in the same neighborhood, but I'd love to hear from your perspective of where do you come from?
Thank you, by the way. I'm born and raised here. You know, like anytime I speak, I just, I kind of just like to clear my thoughts, and I'll do like a little moment of silence, and I just want to say, like, it's an honor being here. You know what I mean? I'm born and raised in South Florida. Like, my purpose of the show is to just kind of share my message, that anyone can get clean, no matter what I do. Like, I always try to explain to people, like, everything I have in my life is from staying clean, complete abstinence, the 12 steps, my higher power, and the 12 traditions,
God bless, man, because I like how you said that right off the bat, right? Because in life, all we have is time, and that could be taken whenever. And I know about your story a little bit, but I'm curious to see how much you want to share with the audience today. And, most of everybody, we have all different types of people, all different types of walks of life, but it's not about that. It's more about, like you said, just sharing from your heart. And so for you, I know you're from Cooper City, Florida.
Yeah.
We're Broward boys.
I was talking to my friend over the weekend, and he thought I was like, because I normally, tell people I'm from Davie, but I'm actually grew up in Cooper City too. I think I left Cooper City like in 3rd or 4th grade. But that's how we know each other, from Embassy Lakes.
Exactly, man. And it's cool because I remember you growing up, we were just like the skater dudes. We were putting that cool ramp on the drain and just grinding. And then we were grinding in business. But I know that life for you took a turn quickly. Where like you were that dude I remember when we were young, and you kind of like were a man before you were a boy type dude. Like, you just skipped a step. That's kind of how I vision. I'm like, when I saw you from afar, I'm like, Bryan Alzate, damn, what's that dude jacked and like getting with all these girls? Like, what's going on? This guy blew up quick.
Wow,
but funny. I know you went through hell. And I didn't even realize that. So I respect you and so many others who have come from that and rose to be such a successful entrepreneur and person in life. And actually a business partner of mine, he really showed me that strength. And it's like, that's what I want people to understand. So maybe if you want to talk a little bit about
absolutely.
that journey.
Just, like I've been sharing my story for, 12 years. I've spoken in prisons, whatever. So me sharing my story doesn't faze me. It's kind of like part of what I do. But so growing up, I really, to put it in a real honest perspective, is I abandoned my inner child at a young age. So at a young age, I was really embarrassed of childish things and things that kids my age were doing. I was constantly trying to be someone I wasn't, trying to fit in with the older crowd, hanging out with the older kids. And even like in Cooper City, I wasn't really doing drugs, but I was hanging out with the older kids, and and even in skating, I was really good at skating compared to kids my age. But a lot of that is extreme insecurity, low self-esteem, using humor to cover up who I really am, not feeling comfortable in my own skin. And to me, when people, say things like that, like, oh, you were so cool, da-da-da-da, in reality, like, I was embarrassed to not be cool. And I was trying so hard to be cool as a young age, And I think as a kid, I missed out on a lot of things that kids do. And I think, like, as an adult, that's why I kind of am so, like, stupid and goofy now, Like, it's kind of hard because at work, we deal with serious stuff, But outside of work and before I opened, the treatment center, I was just getting in touch with what it was like to just be Bryan, you know? But
that says a lot, because in life it's like, you know, you try to be someone you're not, it's gonna come and hit you one day. And I'll be real and vulnerable and say I felt those effects before. And then you start to question, you know, like, you know, let's unpeel the layers, like look yourself in the mirror. And I think that's part of growth. But I know that, you know, substance abuse is a crazy challenge in the world.
Yeah.
And you faced it at an early age.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people say that past tense, and you know, my goal is to like educate people that like recovery is a long-term thing. You know what I mean? Because like, even though I've been clean double digits, I still live with the disease of addiction. I still do things to stay clean. I still call myself an addict. You know, and for some people, like I remember my parents being like, you know, you're clean now, stop calling yourself an addict. And it's like when someone goes to war, they're still veterans. You know what I mean? And not to compare, you know, drug addicts to veterans. You know, I'm not here to debate that. But once you've gone down a rabbit hole of addiction and you found yourself, you know, contemplating suicide, and you've struggled with certain substances that have really taken away your ability to have choice, that changes you as a person. And like in recovery, say like, you know, if, you know, once you know, an addict, always an addict, you know. And for me, growing up, I just never thought that would happen to me. You know, I grew up with a lot of arrogance. I tried drugs thinking I would never get addicted to them. And really, that comes from like my inability to accept myself, because the first time I used wasn't to get high. The first time I used was to gain acceptance from other people, you know.
And then when you, I guess, out of just understanding how you grew and past that, when you had to face that, it was like you went down a road that you just had to feel a certain type, like how long did it take you to get to that?
To get to that, like the point of getting clean?
That and just like where the real person starting to come alive again, not that person that, you remember that time?
So like, you know, one, you know, you got to talk about like how like that person got torn down. So like, you know, when I was a young kid, you know, I didn't need permission to smile. I didn't care what people thought about me. I was like, you know, just a young, normal kid like we all are. And as the years went on, you know, getting bullied or like having people pick on you, people telling you things, you know, and I started to close, and I started to, you know, close my heart and to feel like, oh, I can't act this way because someone might say something to me. You know, somebody will clown on my shoes, and then the next day I'd be clowning on someone else's shoes, you know. Damn. And then, you know, growing up, I think I was smoking cigarettes in like 4th grade. So in 4th grade, I was smoking cigarettes, and then 5th grade, I was smoking weed. 6th grade, I was selling weed. And then I think like end of 6th grade, I was doing coke. So, you know, now that I'm an adult, when I tell my story, it actually kind of makes me sad, because I think about like, you know, the kid doing that as a child still, you know. At 11, 12 years old, I thought I was cool doing coke. Yeah. Now that I'm an adult, like there's nothing cool about that. Like this kid has serious issues, you know. And at 13, arrested for the first time. And when I got arrested, I started getting drug tested. So I had needed to do drugs that came out of my system faster. So I predominantly only did coke at that point. And then I became a total cokehead. I got kicked out of school, sent to military school. And then I tried crack for the first time when I was 14. And then I also tried Oxycontin. And then in freshman year, my drug of choice was crack and Oxycontin.
Wow.
And, you know, as much as illegal drugs, like, ruined my life, like, prescription drugs were, like, you know, a whole another battle. You know, if smoking crack was like a full-time job, like doing pills was like a way of life. Like I couldn't get out of bed without pills. I couldn't go anywhere without pills. And like that opiate,
it gripped you like that?
Yeah, that opiate addiction was like insane. And so, you know, you fast forward 3-4 years of that, and everyone had kind of given up on me. Like, you know, so at that time, like no one really thought I would stay clean. You know, I was in and out of jail, arrested multiple times, kicked out of school like 4 different times, and suicide was a constant state, you know, constantly thinking about suicide, blowing my brains out, walking in front of a car. And even my own family was just like confused because I don't come from a messed up family. I don't come from a family of drug addicts. You know, when I would go to court, my judge would be like, you know, you're the only kid in here with both parents. She's like, I can't remember the last time I seen someone in here with both parents. And my dad would look at me and he'd be like, do you see that you don't fit in here? You know? And at the time, I didn't see there was a way out. Like, I've tried getting clean before on my own. I just couldn't do it. And I thought opiate addiction was going to be like my life. And I got clean at 17 years old. I went to I went to my first and only detox. I went to a county-run, state-funded, you know, not really a nice place. And that's when I first, you know, started to hear the message of a 12-step program.
Wow. You know, that shook me, man, because it's just I got to hear it direct from you, and also know that, you know, it shows hope, it shows faith, it shows that there's people like you that it's possible. So I love that you're an inspiration. That's why I said in the beginning. And also the reason I asked, because it's usually the start of the show is telling you, is like, I just kind of want to know where you come from. Yeah. Everyone has a different beginning, and yours is unique in itself.
And like, as messed up as my story is, like, from going to meetings, I've heard so many crazier stories. Like when I got clean, I thought I had the craziest story ever, and that like I could never get clean. I've seen people use heroin for 30 years and become a lawyer. You know, I've seen women that walk the streets of Hollywood go back to school and become nurses. So like, I had seen so many examples of people that were doing it that had it worse off than me. And now, like, in business or in life today, like, somebody would be like, oh, you know, so-and-so said this about you. And I'm just like, bro, like, do you know how much, like, worse rumors I've heard about myself? You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, it's really hard to dampen my day. Like, you know, this one time I backed up my car into my other car, and because I had two cars at the time. And I remember I was like, damn, that's so cool. And my friend was like, what's cool about that? And I was like, bro, I got two cars. Like, I backed up one car into my other car, you know what I mean? And I was just like, I couldn't believe that was my life, bro. I used to, like, break into cars, like I was telling you, and get the coins out of the car and walk to Coinstar to get, like, $14 to, like, go buy crack, you know? So, like, today,
wow,
it takes a lot to really piss me off. I have friends that are like, yeah, man, we just keep trying to, like, piss Bryan off. Nothing really pisses him off, you know?
I love that, man. It's like you found a peace in your life where you could just be smiling and look at really all the positives. You know, that's why I think it's, you know, and there's different principles of surrounding yourself with those type of people, because, you know, there's such things as toxic environments. And like you said, people say something to you and you start to believe it about yourself. When they call you, you know, they say you're a bitch, and all of a sudden, you know, couple months later, you're like, yeah, I am, you know?
Yeah, and like, you know, what I've learned in recovery are simple things that we learn in kindergarten. Self-talk, like how important it is, the conversation I have with myself. So like, whatever someone can say to me, I've said 10,000 worse things. Like, I'm my worst, like, hater. I'm my worst enemy. So as long as I have good self-talk about myself, like, I'm not really concerned about what someone else says, but I'm also humble enough to say, hey, look, if 5 people are saying the same thing, maybe there's some validity to this, you know? So I'm not that arrogant where I think that, like, I don't care what nobody thinks, because that's how I was when I first got clean. I don't care what nobody thinks, and that was bullshit. Like, I do care what people think about me. I care about what my mom thinks about me. I care about what my close friends think about me, and I care about how I think about me. But if you're not, like, that close to me, I really don't care, because, like, you're just walking into the movie now. Like, you weren't there to see the whole thing, so you don't have an accurate description, you know?
Wow. Yeah, and that actually, you know, when I asked you about the foundation, it shows how wise you are. Now you have all these understandings of life. It's like the business of you. Where did it tick for you where you wanted to just start making money? Or like you said, you used to go into cars to get money to go and get drugs. Where was the foundation turning where you were like, I could build business. I'm good at this.
So money is an unhealthy thing naturally for me.
Okay.
So when I first got clean, I actually ran away from situations that seemed like quick money, because literally when I got clean, if I got $10, I would see a Roxy. I wouldn't even see money. I would see like my dad buy something for like $120, and I'd be like, damn, that was 12 pills. You know, like I think in drugs, you know? And I really stayed away from money for like my first year. And there was when I had a year clean, my mom tried to give me $100. And she's like, should I give it? Like, my mom was scared to give me $100 when I had a year clean, because when I came out of detox the first time, I was like, don't give me money. And I remember getting my first paycheck in recovery. I called my sponsor right away. And I was like, bro, I got my first paycheck. He's like, okay. And I'm like, just letting you know. Yeah. And like, that's how scared I was of like having money on me, because I could be feeling great. I'm never going to do drugs again. And I got $100 in my pocket, and I drive by Church's Chicken. I drive by, you know, a shady gas station, and I'm instantly thinking about like, maybe I should just see what's up over there, you know?
Would that be considered like traumas?
Yeah, at 1,000%. So people call them like triggers or whatever, but the reality is that like in recovery, like we don't use like the term trigger. That's like a treatment term. It's really just like something addicts have to go through, you know what I mean? Because like you ain't never going to play basketball for 20 years and then not think about basketball. You know, like you're going to dream about it. You're going to think about it. When you see a basketball court, you're going to, you know, whatever. When you throw away trash, you might have a flashback of playing basketball, you know? So it's like when you do something day in and day out and dedicate your life to it, be it drugs or whatever,
of course,
it's going to pull you in or whatever, whether it's an old relationship or anything. So when people ask me about like money, I tell people in recovery, like, stay away from money for at least like a couple of years. And that's me. Like, I personally believe that I needed to stay away and focus on the inside broken boy before I started to put the money somewhere, you know, because like for me, the money would have just been another facade and another thing to fill the void. And like, you know, like my message in life is that people looking for financial security, I pray that you find spiritual security first. Because if you don't have that spiritual security first, bro, when you get the C class, you're going to want the S class. And when you get the S class, you're going to want the AMG. And when you get the AMG, you're going to want the Huracan. And when you get the Huracan, you're going to want the Aventador. And when you get the Aventador, you're going to want the plane. So it's like there is no end to money. It's a number. But through spirituality, you can still chase something and still be content with what you have today. And that's the most difficult part about an entrepreneur, because when Michael Jordan gets his 4th ring, he's thinking about the 5th one. And when he gets the 5th one, he's thinking about the 6th one.
That's right.
And that's like a miserable way to live, constantly chasing something. But if you're spiritually connected, there's a way to do it and still feel content. Because if you can't be content with what you have, you'll never be content with what you get.
You know, and I've had mentors, and that's mentorship right there. And I've had people tell me that. And it's like, sometimes you just don't grasp that until you see it or something, because it's like, it's so true. So
I have a friend who mentors me, who like this guy really believed in me when I was like, probably had like 5-6 years clean. He always believed in me, and I give him a lot of credit. And he sold his company and he got 15 million. And I was like, what does that feel like, bro? You just got 15 million. And the first thing he said was, it's not 50 million. He still felt like, well, it's not 50. Like, I still need to work. I can't retire off 15. And I was just like, nah, bro. Like you're out of your mind. 15 million's not like you don't feel anything from that. And he was just like, well, I mean, it's cool. And you know, I see that in myself. And that's why I feel like spirituality and being okay with who you are, with or without the money, is so important. Because right now, where we sit, there is someone who is worth $10 million and they are going to kill themselves in the next couple years. Right now, right here, you know?
Wow.
So it's like...
It's so true. It's so true. That's not
so chasing the money is cool, because it lets you know that dreams are real and attainable. And there's another prison of like, oh, well, that'll never happen. Like that's prison, bro. You know, thinking like, oh, I can't attain my dreams. So there's like another level to, yeah, you should still chase your dreams, but the money aspect of it is like, you can't get caught up on that. You know what I mean?
No, it's so true. I mean, you gotta love what you do and do what you love, and it becomes not even money, it's like that philosophy, serve people, everything follows. And obviously it's like, what character do you want to be in this life? That's why I kind of started to say to myself, it's like, all right, if this is a dream and you know that your riches are inside at this point in your life, where do you want your character to go? And then it's like, is it that ego saying that? Is it like, oh, I want to be remembered by this and I want to create all this? It's like, or is it just like, hey, I'm here to serve, and this is a vessel, and I'm going to use my spirituality to get me there. And then there's going to be different things, because everyone chooses how they want to live. Some people could be perfectly happy up in the mountains somewhere and not wearing a bunch of expensive jewelry or something. That's their choice.
Yeah, and I have I have a friend of mine who his dream was to dance. This is like a white boy who can't dance, and now he's like a pro salsa dancer. To him, that might be more difficult than becoming a multimillionaire. Like that's his dream, and I encourage people to chase their dreams. It might not always be, to be rich and famous and have 5,000 employees and take your company public, but like whatever dream you have, like I have a friend who wants to do comedy, and I'm like, bro, just sign up for an open mic, and he's like, and I'm like, bro, it's not that hard. Like, people are gonna laugh at you, or they're gonna laugh at you. You know what I mean? Like either way, people are gonna laugh. And sometimes people are just scared to do that stupid little thing. And for me, like, when I had 5 years clean, like we were talking about skating. So a lot of times when I speak at meetings, like when I was rollerblading as a kid, that's when I really felt my happiest, because like going to Brian Piccolo as a kid and hitting the spine, this guy knows, and like doing whatever, like that just felt like, that's when I felt like a kid. And when I moved and I stopped skating is when I started to put a mask on.
And ironically, I had a episode that just launched today, Brian Donovan. He's a beast, and I have a lot of love and respect for him. He was talking about this too. He was like, Danny, I feel my best when I'm out on my quad. I'm just ripping it. I do a cold shower. I do my daily rituals, and I'm just my inner child, just like me. I love now like doing all these different types of fighting movements, and like, because I remember as a kid, that's how I was. And it's like, when we get to that playful state, I know someone's telling me, he's like, Danny, I go, actually, which you'll meet later, is I'll go out of my boat and I'll just troll and chill. And it's like a happy place. It's like our inner child. And it's
and like,
needed.
you got to spend time with your inner child as if it was a real child. So like, you don't have to be with your inner child 24/7, because that's not practical. And at some points, it's not even appropriate, But you need to spend time doing things that you love, or else you're going to get caught up in a house that you don't really spend time in a car that you're just waiting for the next car to come out, at the job just waiting for the clock to tick, at the getting the paycheck that's just not enough, and you just get caught up in this riff-raff rat race of life, and you could be making $1 million and still feel that way. There are people that make $1 million that live above their means, paycheck to paycheck. It doesn't matter. Like, I have a friend who does accounting, and he's like, he does accounting for hundreds of thousands of people probably. And he was like, bro, I don't care if people make $100,000 a year or $1 million a year. Most people spend all the money they make. Most people don't have much savings. And you think that if you made this much money, your life would change. But if your behavior doesn't change, it's really the same thing.
Oh, wow. That's great talk, man. Actually, it leads me to, people love to know how, like, the reality of you building a business. I know you're a businessman. You have many different businesses. I announced that you're the CEO on the show of
United
Recovery Project. Talk a little bit about that. Like, what's it like owning a rehab or treatment center?
I mean, bro, it's crazy. It's a lot of people look at me and they're like, oh, like, you do what you love. But the reality is that I spend most of my time doing things I hate. So even though I love helping people, owning a treatment center isn't like helping people. Like, there's like, yeah, it is, but there's so many parts of the business that I hate doing. I hate doing payroll. I hate having, quarterly meetings with HR. I hate, doing compliance. I hate the billing aspect. I hate arguing with insurance companies. You have like, the census, you have, disgruntled clients, the police come in, Baker Acts. Like, there's a lot of parts of the business that aren't fun. And a lot of people think like, oh, well, you own a business where you love to do what you do because I'm in recovery and I love to help people. Yeah, bro, but any business, to make it successful, you have to do the things you hate. I think a lot of people don't understand that, but owning a treatment center is by far like the coolest thing, like I do hands down. Like I love going to work, but I loved going to work before I owned a treatment center. So a lot of times people think that, I love what I do because it's treatment, but I got to a point in my life where I folded clothes at the mall and I loved going to work because I was just grateful to have a job, And I've been in situations in my life where I didn't like my job. And I remember driving to work telling myself I love my job, and I hated it, just trying to be positive. And today, it could still be like that some days. There's some days where I'm just getting phone calls and emails and
Yeah.
and it could be super overwhelming.
And it goes to show, it's like, just like in anything, it takes a team, It takes a
1000%.
collection of great individuals, and having a role and a responsibility and accountability, and it all has to work at the same speed. But at the end of the day, everyone goes home, but the boss, the owners have to know that they have to keep this business alive so they can keep payroll going and they can keep helping the world. And it's a lot. And I think people underestimate what it really takes to build a business, especially when you're not that person. It's okay. It's just more about figuring out how to delegate, how to hire the right people, and how to just scale per se. But I definitely can relate to that.
So like in any business, when people scale, like they lose quality, and that's like my biggest fight is that I want to scale the business, but I want to keep the quality and I want it to be the same. And there's some companies that have done it, really well. When you go to Starbucks, they don't get a bigger Starbucks. They just open up another Starbucks. And I've been to 1,000 Starbucks, and they're all pretty much consistently the same. I'm sure nothing's like the very first Starbucks. I'm sure it was perfect. But there's a way to do it where you're not growing too fast. And at the end of the day, I'm not selling coffee. I'm saving people's lives. Like when you take someone into your treatment center, you really are handling their life in your hands. And families are trusting you. People are putting their kids on airplanes. They've never even toured the facility. They're just looking on Google and seeing like your reviews and what your website looks online. And they're trusting someone over the phone to explain to them what it's like. And oftentimes when you get explained something over the phone while you're intoxicated or fighting with drugs, it's not what you thought it was when you get there, just naturally. And there are times where, some people go through treatment and they're just totally satisfied. And there's times where some people go through treatment and they just have never been to treatment before and they didn't expect it to be this way. But what I can guarantee when people come to my treatment center is that we're going to care. And I tell people all the time is that the difference between going to a good treatment center and a bad treatment center isn't the Tempur-Pedic mattress. It's not the food. It's going to be whether or not the people take the extra time to make sure that each individual is in a safe environment, that they feel that people actually care about them, that they're not treated like a number. And that is what makes, our place, different than a lot of other places.
And I feel like from what I've seen in building business thus far is like any industry can have either or. It's like we used to call them the bad actors or whatnot. But it's like, if your heart's in it, if you could build that in your core values of your company and your DNA, and you could breathe that into your customers and into your clients or your patients in your case, it could be replicated in any industry, I believe. It just needs to be really held strong, like you do, like you hold it in your company.
1,000%. And there's a lot of times where it starts to affect the bottom line, and we don't have enough clients, and people want to cut corners or do things they don't normally do to make rent or whatever. Or they're having a slow period. And I can honestly say that in the 5 years we've been open, like URP is the same way it was 5 years ago as it is today. If you come on a Saturday, if you come on Christmas, if you come when we're empty, if you come when we're full, like it is the same thing 24/7. And any solid company does that. Any solid company is consistent over time. And yeah, like you were talking, like look at Chick-fil-A. They got phenomenal. I'm like, where do they find these people? You know what I mean? Like, where do they find these people to work minimum wage that are smiling at their job to serve food? And the reality is that, Navy SEALs aren't born, they're made. So there's something about their culture where they're training people the right way, and they're taking these employees and turning them into these Chick-fil-A people, you know.
Oh, it's so interesting. So right now you have one center,
Technically, we have two. So we have one in
nice,
West Palm and we have one in Hollywood.
and that you house people in
Yeah,
your facilities.
yeah. So they're in. So we have all levels of care. So we have detox and res in West Palm. That's 20 beds, and then we have 54 beds of PHP with community housing where they live there as well. And then we have probably a census of like 30 or 40 in intensive outpatient.
And based off you being in the industry now a couple of years, I mean, what's your take on it right now in Florida? How are you seeing, like for us, being in the hemp business, we were seeing, a lot of people using our products in the case to get off opiates and whatnot. But what are you seeing and we were trying to see some numbers back then, but like, what's going on right now in Florida?
I mean, honestly, I stick to myself. So like, I pride myself on being a hardcore 12-step abstinent-based luxury facility, right? So we are one of the few treatment centers that have not become MAT, which means that we don't use Suboxone. We're not trying to get people on more drugs, you know what I mean? We're a complete abstinent-based place. We do give people that are dual diagnosis any type of meds that they might need as long as they're non-narcotics. We don't do any type of marijuana treatment or anything like that. And like there are trends now of like marijuana treatment centers and stuff like that. And for me, I just feel that if you're going to treatment, you've probably already tried just smoking weed 10 years ago. So I really believe that, treatment or my treatment center at least is for people who have tried every other way to stay clean and really want to, kill a fly with a hammer,
Right. No, it's good stuff, Bryan, man. And I commend you for what you do because it takes the heart and, like you said, how you hold the principles of your organization and why you're so successful with it and can continue helping people. So in like the entrepreneur of Bryan, I mean, like the inner child and also the person who knows that if he believes in a dream, he's going to attain. And I see you all this cool toys now. Like, talk a little bit about, I'm interested and I know people are like, how do you view business now? Like,
so, one, like I told you in the beginning, I was like very scared of like making money or like quick money. For me, it was a trigger. It was like something that I just stayed away from, and I've seen my friends start making money or whatever. And I just wanted to go to school because growing up, my dad just told me like, go to school, you're going to be a loser, and, I started with motorcycles. So I was working at a treatment center, making, $12 an hour, sweeping up cigarette butts, driving the kids to the bowling alley. And I met this kid on a cruise who had a motorcycle business, and he lived in Tampa and I lived in South Florida. And I knew he was making money. He was probably 21 at the time. And I remember he had like a Range Rover and he had a Z06 Corvette. And at the time, like a Z06 Corvette was like, and a Range Rover was like pretty insane to have at 21 years old. And we became friends, and he would always ask me to visit him. I was like, can I work? And he's like, what do you do for work? I was like, I work at a treatment center. And he was like, I'm sure you could like miss one day. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, it's pretty important, And one day he called me and he's like, yo, I have a 2001 Gixxer 1000 with a blown motor and this guy wants to sell it. Can you pick it up? And I was like, it sounded like Chinese to me. And I was like, I don't have a truck. He's like, the guy owns a tow yard. He has the title. He's going to drop it off to your house. And I was just like, I mean, I guess. And he was like, do you have $1,300? And I just started laughing. I was like, nah, bro. Like, the only time there's a comma in my bank account is when I get my FAFSA. And I remember he's like, do you know anyone that will give you $1,300? And I was clean probably maybe 4 years at the time. And I was just like, bro, if I ask people for $1,300, they probably think I'm back on drugs or something, And I was like, you can Western Union it to me. And he was like, what's Western Union? So I like explained it to him and he sent me the money. And he sent me $200 extra. And when I got the bike, I took a picture of the VIN, I took a picture of the title, and he was like, all right, pay the guy. And then he was like, keep the $200. And I was like, I don't want the $200. And he's like, just keep it. I'm like, I don't want it. He's like, just keep it. I was like, I don't want it. So he called me the next day and there was another bike. And then after another week, he was like, how much do you make at work? At the time, I was working part-time going to school. I was like, I think I make like $300 a week. And he was like, I'll give you $100 a bike and you buy bikes from me. And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, you'll probably be able to buy 10 bikes a week. And I was like, $1,000 a week? And I instantly was sold. And I remember I gave my car to my brother because he had crashed my car, and my dad had like this old F-150, and I was still working at the treatment center buying bikes part time, and then I just started buying bikes 24/7. And
Wow. How many were you buying at one time?
So in 3 years, we did that every single day for 3 years. Like I lived, eat, breathe, and slept motorcycles. I was on Craigslist 24/7. I was driving 100,000 miles a year. I would go to the power sports auction in Georgia. I'd go to Key West to buy a bike. I was buying bikes in Jacksonville, Daytona, Tampa. I hit up Florida nonstop on Craigslist, all on Craigslist. And I think I was buying about like 330 bikes my first year, which is like a bike a day almost. To second year, I was buying about 550 bikes, which was almost like 2 bikes a day.
Oh, wow.
So, I had a trailer, and that's really where I learned that I still have this crazy addiction in me, because like that's when like I realized that even though I'm clean, I still have this insane ability to not go home. So what that means is like when I would do coke with my friends, they would go home. I never went home. Like they'd all be like, "I'm going home." I'll be like, "No, I'm getting more." So like I applied that same mentality to buying bikes. Where if I was in Tampa, I would have 2 bikes and be like, "I don't want to go home yet because there might be another bike here." And then I would think like, "Well, I don't have space on the truck for another bike, so I would have to find a little trailer to if I found another bike and like." Put some little rinky-dink trailer on my thing in case I found another bike. And more times than not, I would find another bike. Mm-hmm. And, like that kid that I worked for, his name's Damon. And he really taught me, like, no sleep mentality. Like, this kid is just a workhorse. He wants to work, and he wants things to be perfect. And he doesn't care if it's Saturday. He doesn't care if it's Christmas. He doesn't care if it's Thanksgiving. Like, if there's a good deal out there, like, he wants it right now.
Wow. So many cool principles there you're saying, man. Like, and I remember when some of my times going through like the state of Florida, just driving city to city just to make a couple bucks, but like, and then even building the company of like little things you do, but like those details, man, that you became like, I don't want to use the word obsessed, but that no one's gonna outwork you. You're gonna, and if they are, it's going to be a big challenge, because just not because you're against or competitive, it's more that you just have this much belief in yourself almost to get it.
Yeah, I mean, there was, and it wasn't like, because at the time it was like, he was like, "Look, I'll give you $100 on every bike." Mm-hmm. So I was like, "Well, how many bikes can I buy?" And he's like, "As long as it's a good deal, I'll buy it." So he basically gave me like full range to buy anything at any time. So that was the first experience I had where it was like the more hours you put in, the more money you would make. And through all that time, I didn't stop going to meetings. I didn't stop sponsoring people. I didn't let the money cloud, my recovery. So I still had a solid foundation where there was times where he would be like, "Bro, I need you to go to the power sports auction in Georgia." And I'd be like, "Bro, I can't." And he'd be like, "What?" And here I'm the guy who works 24/7. And I'm like, "I have to go speak at a meeting." And he would be like, "Speak at a meeting?" He's like, "Bro, you're about to make 14 grand on this trip." And I was like, "I'm sorry, bro, I can't do it." And he's like, "Tell someone else to do it." And I was like, "I've already like substituted myself like at one time. I can't do it again." And he would be like, "Who says no to that?" And I was like, "Bro, I just can't do it." So there was times where I'd put my foot down, and above anything else, I'd have my recovery still be super solid. And we're still close today, and he really respects my recovery like at this point,
So now you started making money, those 3 years, and that was something that you were almost, you said, fearful of, but now you're starting to...
Well, I had a super solid foundation, but that's when I first started making 6 figures. And I feel like when I started to make 6 figures was when I first started to be like, "Oh shit, now I have extra money." Because like my whole life, it was like I got paid on Friday, I was broke next Friday. Like I just lived my life like that. I didn't understand that there would come a point where there would be extra money, So then I was like, "Oh shit, I can buy my own bikes. I can invest $5,000 into a business. I can, like once I started to have 10 or 20 grand in the bank, just sitting there not doing anything, I started to think like, well, I can do something with this money." And that's when like the entrepreneur, started rolling. And there was times where I would start buying my own bikes. I made relationships with other dealerships. And if Damon he would get first dibs on the bike. So one, I stayed loyal to him, because there was so many times where I could have bought a bike and lied to how much I got it for. There was parts that would come in. I'd show up to someone's house and they'd have a full, full race kit exhaust or something. So, there was just times where I chose to do the right thing by someone who, gave me a chance.
Oh, that's a great line right there. And it's like, don't bite the hand that feeds you type thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have respect.
For sure, because there was a lot of times where like his employees would be like, this kid used to be on crack. Like they start looking me up on Facebook and they're like, how can you trust this guy? And, Damon is just like, he tells people all the time, like, he's like, bro, when I met Bryan, I just instantly trusted him. And this guy handed, like the first time I went to go buy bikes, I met him in Tampa, and he did a like little code on his safe, and he handed me $50,000 in cash. And I remember, like, I had, in all my drug years, I've never seen more than like $2,000, and here this guy was handing me $50,000, and he never once questioned if I was stealing or anything, so like he has a lot of respect in my book for taking a chance on me.
I love that. Yeah. So with that, what years were you in now? What are you talking about?
What do you mean?
About like with the motorcycles and whatnot?
That was probably when I had like 4 years to 8 years.
So, after that you started. You didn't have the rehab center at that point.
No, so I was just doing bikes, and then I wanted to do a rehab center because I just kept seeing like all these crappy ones get opened. So I remember like when I got clean. If you owned a treatment center, you were probably in your mid-40s, you're super respectable in the recovery community, you're probably already a multi-millionaire, and you chose to open up a treatment center after having 15 plus years in sobriety or recovery or whatever. And then there became a point where like anybody and everybody was opening a flop treatment center that they would take couples, they would pay people to get high, there was all this fraud going on. And there was times where these people would open these treatment centers, and the people themselves weren't even in recovery. Like they just went to treatment a couple times, saw that it was a profitable business, and then got like a loan from their grandma or something and started up like some flop IOP. And I would be watching them like, they're not going to be around. 4 years later, they're like expanding in 5 other states, and I'd just be like, Jesus. So honestly, seeing so many people do it so messed up made me, because like people would complain about it on Facebook and like make posts about it or whatever, but I was like, man, if it really bothers you that bad, you should just do something about it. And that's really what motivated me to open up URP, because I've seen people do it successfully too. I've seen people do it the right way, and I've seen people help people, and I've seen people own, 10, 15 treatment centers across the country and still have their morals intact, Yeah,
it's possible. And it's like a different type of capitalism, but it's with like leading with the right not right mentality. There's no right or wrong, which is leading with I guess good intent. I love asking these questions because I want people to really see that. Like, first of all, I respect how humble you are, because I know that you've created a lot of success for yourself, and it's not even about that. And I understand that from how you speak. For me, I just like teaching people like this is the mindset of somebody who actually got to these levels. And coincidentally, wouldn't even say it was your story. It was you. This was your beginning. And one word I always say to people is like, in any crazy successful story, is the word resilience. And that's what you had. And then, but also now, you got good at what you do. You got to be an expert. I mean, it's all about good energy.
So I tell people all the time, Google that shit. You know what I mean? Like, there was just so much that I didn't know. Like, now that I look back on it, I would never in a million years give myself the opportunity that I got to open a treatment center, because like I had no idea all the things I was gonna have to learn. I was just like winging it. And now that I look back, I was like, oh my God, like, because I was only 25 years old.
In what respect? You're talking like billing insurance companies and
everything,
stuff?
bro. Like, I didn't know how, because I meet people all the time that were like, well, I want to start a business, but what do you do with payroll? I Googled how to do payroll. I Googled what is healthcare. I Googled what is insurance. I Googled how does insurance companies work? What is Blue Cross? What is Blue Shield? Like, and yeah, I had like someone that was a mentor that would help me here and there. But when I would call him and ask him questions, I remember calling him and be like, hey, I have this policy coming in. Like, I don't know if it's good or bad. And he'd be like, well, Bryan, do you know how health insurance started? I'd be like, no. And he would go into this long story about how, like, back in the day, doctors would put you on like a monthly plan, and you'd have to pay the doctor monthly in case you got sick, because when you got sick, you couldn't afford something that would happen back then. And it was kind of like, that's how insurance started.
Oh my God.
So then he'd go into this long story for 30 minutes, and I'd be like, okay, but, you know, is this insurance policy good or not? He'd be like, I don't know. You know? So, like, he really taught me, like, figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And, like, today, like, one of my biggest pet peeves is when someone asks me something that they can Google. It was like, dude, like, learn to think for yourself. People ask me all the time, like, what crypto should I buy? I don't know, bro, Google it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, because that's all I did. It's not like I have any special, I didn't go to crypto college. I didn't, you know, finish college. You know, everything I learn is really from just asking questions on the internet, for the most part. And I do want to give, like, respect to a lot of people in the rooms that trusted me and wanted to help me, because a lot of people in recovery were willing to leave treatment centers that they were at long term to come work at my place, because they saw that this kid has a vision, you know.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's like the law of attraction. You create your reality through you're attracting these types of people into your life. And, you know, I guess my curiosity, well, a couple things. One, real quick, I want to talk to you about, like, how do you think of investments now? Like, how do you view investing? You said you like to, you know, you have an opportunity, if you have extra money, you could put it in places. Like, how do you view investing now?
So one, I just want to say I'm not an investing expert. I would probably say I'm pretty dumb with money when it comes to, like, the grand, because, like, I compare myself to, like, you know, other people that I read about or whatever, but at the same time, like, I think that people need to get to a certain point where they can invest. You know, you have people that are barely able to pay their rent investing money into stuff they don't really know about. So I feel like you really got to master a skill set before you can really think about investing. So that's what I always tell people is, like, you really have to focus on one thing that makes money before you invest, because you got to get to that point where you have extra money. You can't be like, you know, I personally believe, like, you can't really invest your way into, like, you know, a crazy lifestyle if you don't really have some type of regular income, you know?
No, 100%. And it's like, no, that's great advice. Don't go somewhere where you don't have perfected one thing at a time.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, you know, a lot of times people think, like, investing is like some get rich quick scheme, like, and it's really like, I've just read books over the past couple of years that have really helped me educate myself on, like, what's a safe investment and what's not a safe investment, a Roth IRA, like health insurance or life insurance or stuff, or, you know, some type of portfolio that is diverse, you know. But what I would tell people is to invest a little bit consistently over time into something that you can't easily pull your money out of. Because what most people do is they save up $8,000, $10,000, maybe $5,000. Then they don't really know what to do with it. Then vacation time comes around, they spend it on a vacation, and then they just build up that $4,000 or $5,000 again, and then they just whatever, and then they, like, take out a loan, and then, like, now they owe $5,000, and then, like, they just live in this constant state of, like, trying to save into wealth, where, like, I've read, because I used to wonder, like, how come I can't save money? Like, how come I'm not disciplined to save money? It was, like, really hard for me to save money. Like, saving $20,000 when I was, like, in my 20s was, like the hardest thing ever. And I probably, if I was more disciplined, I should have saved, like, $50,000, you know? And I read Tony Robbins' book, I think it's called, like, Money Master the Game. And he talked, and, like, there's a guy in there that he quotes that says, like, you can't save your way into wealth. You can only invest your way into wealth. So with that being said, is like, yeah, if you don't make six figures yet, you should be saving something, but instead of saving it, invest it consistently into something safe, which would be the S&P 500, some type of safe EFT or something like that. Even today, I would say, like, a safe crypto. But what wins over time is consistently investing and diversifying. So what I've learned is to put a little bit here and there. So I put things into physical stuff like guns, gold, or some type of physical asset. I put a percent of what I make into some type of real estate, and then I put a percent into crypto, and then I put a majority into like something in Vanguard, like a safe S&P 500, and that's really like your safest bet in my opinion. But I like real estate, you know. I really do think like buying a house and paying it off and keep. I'm not like a flipper. I don't want to buy a house and flip it and make money. I rather like buy a house and pay it off in 8 years and then just buy another house, you know. But I don't know. I just think like consistently investing over time.
That's
and
great
not
advice.
Pulling your money out.
No, thanks for saying that. And another cool question, in my opinion, that I like to ask you is like, I've seen you with a lot of cool toys. What was like one of the coolest things that like where you felt like, damn, I'm here?
1000% would be like my GTR. So like when I first bought a GTR, so like a lot of times people have like an idea, like they want to make a certain amount of money, but like, you know, people might not believe me, but like money doesn't really interest me as much as like something cool. You know what I mean? So like I didn't wake up and say I want to make $100,000 a year, because there was a time where I was making $100,000 a year and I had my truck for work and I couldn't really get a GTR because like they wouldn't give me that much credit. So I was making enough where I could buy a GTR, but it was like really hard, and like I didn't really care about the money. I just really wanted a GTR. And like I swear to God, for years I would go on YouTube and watch GTR videos every night before sleep. I would like look at all these reviews. I would go to the Nissan dealership, and like when you go to Nissan to look at their GTR, like they don't let you sit in it. They don't unlock it for you. They don't let you test drive it. So I remember I would just go there and like pretend like I was gonna buy it or whatever. And I wanted a Nissan GTR so bad. It's just so fucking cool. It's from Japan. Like I'm just like a super JDM guy. And I remember my business partner had 1,000 horsepower, or 1,200 horsepower GTR. And I remember I was asking for a raise, and he's like, "What do you want a raise for?" I was like, "Bro, I just need to make more money." And he was just like, we were fighting back and forth, and I was like, "All I really want is that GTR." And he was like, "How about this?" And like we made a deal, and he's like, "When it gets out of the shop, I'll give you the GTR." And I was just like, "No way." Like, no way. And it was matte white. It had like this matte white wrap on it, and it was 1,200 horsepower, and it was like an 09 or like 2010. And when I went to go pick it up and I trailered it on the truck, it was like graduating Harvard 10 times over. It was like the best feeling in the world. What a feeling. It was so cool. I was like the happiest kid ever. And then like it broke, and it like was in the shop for like a year.
So just for fun, right?
But just the fact that I was able to do it, and then like a year later I bought like my own. But I would say hands down the GTR, like 1,000%. Till today, when I see one, they still make me smile.
So you say you're a car guy. So are you
obsessed with cars?
Whipping? What do you drive? Like, what have you driven like that has been yours before?
I mean, I've driven almost every car that. I mean,
I've seen you in the Lambo last week. You're just test driving and whatnot. But that's you like. What's your favorite besides the GTR? Like you're
trying to think. I really love, I had a 570S. 570S is super dope. Like, I really give a lot of respect to McLaren because it's so fast. So, like, you know, I was driving an F8 the other day, and, like, Ferrari and Lambos are cool, but, like, what McLaren can do around a track is just so insane. So, like, a lot of people who have these cars, they don't really track them. So, when you track, like, a McLaren, I remember the first time I was doing like a track event, and this like little like Spanish dude came up to me, and he's like, "Bro, you're gonna win." And I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "Your car is so fast because of the brakes." And I remember thinking like, how do the brakes make the car faster? And I remember he was telling me, he's like, "Bro, your car can brake like no one else's." He's like, "Trust the brakes. You can brake." And now he was showing me on the track, he's like, "You could brake right here. Everyone else has to brake right here." So I remember like that was the first experience where I was like tracking the car, and he was totally right. I remember thinking like, damn, that little guy knows what he's talking about. And I beat everyone on the track event that day, and it really is because like the Akebono brakes that McLaren has are like insane. So when everyone's doing the track, even though you're fast limiting the straightaway, you have like a Ferrari or Lambo have to start braking like back here. In the McLaren, you can like slam on the brakes like 25 yards away and still make the turn.
And what is it for you that you're loving? Is it every aspect? Is it the model, the speed, the look? It's the whole package that you're studying.
If I could smoke them, I would. You know what I mean? Like that's how much I love cars. You know, but like to me, it's just like the engineering. like the whole thing about it. Like I even love the car game, like the market. So like there are some cars that I don't like because they depreciate in value, you know. So like I'm not a big fan of like the Bentley Bentayga, but the fact that you can get one now for like 120 and that they depreciated, but like for 120, it's one of the best cars you could get for like 120, you know. Like the Huracan has held its value insanely. So what people don't know, like you could buy like the new Ferrari and not lose money on it. So I used to think like people who bought like Ferraris and Lambos or whatever were like losing all this money, but in reality, like if you know the car market, like you can drive a brand new Ferrari and lose less money if you would have bought like a brand new S-Class. You can make money on a lot of these cars. Bro, there's people that bought the 765 LT. They bought the 765 LT4 sticker for $430. They're going for $515 right now.
You know what? The reason why, beyond just how, to me, like the inner child of me, like it's so cool. My cousin's a car guy, and he would love this podcast and whatnot. I was like, I want to show people that like how genuine you are with all these like very expensive toys, let's call them, is like you just love it. And that's what I want people to realize when they're reaching their goals and dreams. And that's why I would want people listening to this to say, listen, this is a successful person. You could see how his story has created where he's at, but it's like, you know, we all want to just have fun, you know, and
so
enjoy.
Like when I was a kid, you know, like when I got clean, I literally couldn't think about what I like to do. I remember being in treatment and my therapist being like, so what kind of hobbies do you have? And I was like, bro, I don't have hobbies. Like I break into houses, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't remember last time I went to a concert. Couldn't remember last time I went to the beach. Couldn't tell you last time I hung out with like a group of people unless we were doing drugs. Like I literally had no friends. I was a shell of a human being. I couldn't tell you like what my favorite song was. Like I had no hobbies. And it wasn't until probably 3 or 4 years clean that I started to look at cars and be like, oh, like that's cool. And like I started to go on YouTube and watch YouTube videos. But when I was a kid, when like a Ferrari would go by, I used to freak out. I remember when I was being a little kid in the backseat and being like, Mom, go faster. I want to see. And she'd be like, no, Bryan, I can't. I'm like, Mom, go. You know, so it's like I found what I like to do. And not everyone is going to be obsessed with cars like I am. But like, honestly, sometimes I feel like the only reason why I want to be successful is so I can have a car collection. Like that's literally, like I don't really care that much about the money, but like I do want to have a car collection where I could be like, wow, like the Gone in 60 Seconds where they open up the garage and there's just like 70 cars in there. Like to me, that's like the coolest thing.
Well, it's cool because I'm excited to see, you know, calling you my friend, but watching you evolve into like how much, I mean, I'm not taking away from the fact, you know, because we're talking about your hobbies, how much you are impacting this world, and right, and what you're doing is powerful. Now, you know, I like people to know about like how you stay at a high performance, like how you found this peace inside, but like what daily rituals. So, you know, I'm curious, like how do you start your day? Do you have those routines and stuff?
So I could tell you that, you know, if like one, I just want to like say that not everyone is the same. I used to think that every successful person woke up early, was 5 minutes early, and like ate super clean and like had a strict diet. Bro, I meet people that are like fat, lazy, don't go to the gym, have zero idea about like affirmations, or they don't even read, and they're super successful. You know, there's some people that just go out there and do it, and like they really don't even think twice about it. And then there's people like me that I'm just constantly studying and trying to get better in everything I do. So like, and like I feel like I need to do that, you know what I mean? Like I live like a pretty balanced life and a routine life. I enjoy my routine. But one thing that I've been doing for like almost 5 years solid is that I write my goals in first person almost every single day, 5 years in advance, magnified by like a lot. So, you know, so I'll do that for 5 years at a time, and then I'll start it again. So like I'll say, you know, I'm Bryan, I'm 32 years old, I have 16 years clean, and I do things that are important first. So I'll say I have long-term friendships, I love my family, I love my life, I like who I look in the mirror today. I have a strong relationship with my higher power. I pray and meditate on a daily basis. I go to 2 to 3 meetings a day. I love to do service. I'm involved in multiple nonprofits. And then I'll get into, I have a net worth of XYZ. I have this much of a monthly income. I have this business, that business. I own this car. I travel to this country, you know, blah, 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 like whatever it is. And I do that on a daily basis so I can have some type of vision and goal and purpose in my life. So even when I do like the podcast, like I take time to clear and have a purpose of what the podcast is really about. Like my purpose for doing anything is to share the message that anyone can get clean, to get people to connect on a deep level through vulnerability, and to just be an inspiration to someone else, no matter what they're going through, because that's what helped me. I heard people's stories when I was a kid getting clean as a child, you know, that blew me away. And sometimes it was just that someone stopped smoking crack. Like they didn't, like you don't have to be rich and famous to wow me, you know what I mean? Like the fact that someone just stopped smoking crack was like, what? I couldn't believe that there were people walking amongst us that used to smoke crack every single day and stopped. Wow. It was like seeing a unicorn. You know, it was more inspirational than seeing people become millionaires. You know, when I saw people get clean in crowds and hang out every night and go out to eat together and share their stories, to me it was like the coolest thing ever. And people always ask me like how did you get clean, or why did you get clean? And the reality is that like I was looking for something my whole life. I was looking for something in drugs and people and places, all the wrong places, and I found it in the rooms of the 12-step program that I go to. And for me that was like real love. You know, and I couldn't get that through drugs, and I was trying to. So when I see homeless people out on the street, or I see someone really doing drugs, I just see someone looking for love. You know,
and that's the highest frequency. You know, obviously, kumbaya. There's war going on every day, but we all know the only way to the next level is going to be, you know, that vibration. Now, you know, I've seen you with that type of compassion, and you do what type of philanthropy or service do you do? I love people to know, because
so I try to remind myself that the reason why I'm trying to be successful is that the more success that I gain, the more I can give. So yeah, I do want to have a car collection. I do want to have like fun things, and I do love having like I love my employees. Like I don't understand employers that don't love, like, because I've talked to other business owners like, oh, I hate my employees. I think it's so weird. You know, I love my employees. You know, I really do try to have a connection with each and every one of them. But for me, I try to remind myself that the reason why I'm doing this is so that way, the more that I can attain, the more that I can give. And over the years, I got involved with a nonprofit called Fighting All Monsters. And it was so weird. Like, I like naturally just like to give. And my friend called me. He's like, bro, you got to meet this guy. He has a foundation. I think you'll like him. So I saw on Instagram that he like was helping kids with cancer. I texted him. I was like, yo, can I come through? He's like, yeah, I'm in Miami. And I went up to his apartment. And he started telling me all about the foundation. I was in such a rush. I'm like, bro, I can't really stay that long. And I wrote him a check. And it wasn't for like a crazy amount of money. But I wrote him a check. And I was like, and he started telling me like, yo, this is going to go to this funeral. And he's still like telling me all about it. And I was just like, bro, I hate to be like a douchebag, but I just got to go, you know? And I left. And I remember he hit me up and he kept asking me questions. And he was asking me like how you start a business and how you start a nonprofit. And all I did was Google how to start a nonprofit. You know what I mean? And I would send him the article. And he's like, oh, man, you're so smart. And I'm like, I'm really not that smart, but I just Googled it and sent it to you. And he would keep asking me questions. And I remember just being like, bro, it's really not that hard. Like, you know, you got other people starting foundations. And this guy's name is Milk Tyson. And he's an ex-gang member that was really close friends with, like, Justin Bieber. And he had an opportunity to have this girl with cancer walk the red carpet with Justin, and then Justin had already committed to someone else walking it, so he had to make up for it. And when he called to make up for it, the girl had already passed away, and he fell into this world of like helping kids with cancer. And we connected, and I think that was like 4 years ago. But I think our first year we did over $1 million in donations.
Wow.
So, you know, and we were on the Ellen DeGeneres show, you know.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah, it was cool.
Got to see Ellen.
Yeah. I mean, I personally wasn't there, but like the foundation was.
Dude.
And to be honest with you, like I really would call him and be like, bro, I don't know why you need me anymore. Like I donate money here and there. Like he'll call me and he just knows I'm a sucker. So he'll call me and be like, bro, there's this girl and she's got cancer. And there's no AC in her house, and they need AC. And I'll just be
gave you that. Wow.
And I'll just be like, oh my God, like, you know, all right, like, I'll see what I can do. And then he'll send me like a picture and I'll just be like, Jesus Christ. Like, how do you say no to that, you know? So I'll like, you know, I donate money as much as I can and I have over the years, but not more than, like, there are other people that, like, there are people that have written us $100,000 checks. And I asked them one day, like, bro, like, why do you still need me, or why do you still call me? And he was like, honestly, bro, you're the most positive person I've ever met. And I was like, really? And he was just like, yeah, bro, you're just always like you can't even say something bad about someone else. And I was just like, well, I don't know. So, I mean, over the years, like, that's kind of what I've been focusing on. Mm-hmm. But my goal with the treatment center is to one day have treatment centers that are 50% scholarships. So I believe that you can have a treatment center that scholarships 50% of the census and still make a profit and still be able to expand and grow. And sometimes people ask me, like, what do you think about the drug laws, or what do you think about that? Like, I'm not really concerned into debating drug laws. You know, I don't really care about the drug laws. I don't care about the pharmaceutical companies. They're going to do what they want to do. My goal is in the solution into treating addicts now, and I think that's going to change generations before us or that come after us. So my goal is to get treatment more readily available and to get mental health and behavioral health more in school systems where people can have an education on depression, anxiety, and all these things that our parents thought were like a myth, you know?
The best thing about, you know, how I feel like I'm on the same page with you is I wanted to ask you this. This was my next question. See, where's the vision?
Yeah.
And where you going? And I love that you starting to see, and I love how you write those goals down, and people will understand manifestation. What that means is that you're just truly believing in it. You're feeling what it feels like, and then you're taking the steps towards it. It's not like a magic pill, but it's...
Yeah, because, like, you know, you got to do all of it. So it's like you can't just do positive affirmations and then not do anything. You can't do positive affirmations and go to the gym but then not take a risk. So a lot of times people don't want to take a risk, because when I opened the treatment center, I actually made less my first year and a half there than I did buying motorcycles. And I was willing to risk that. You know what I mean? I was willing to risk making less money in exchange for equity in a company and bust my ass and make sure that it gets done. And there was times where, like, bro, it wasn't all good. You know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of times where it's like, bro, we don't know how we're going to make payroll. There was times where it's like, bro, we don't know how we're going to keep the census up. There was times where, like, it was really, really crazy, bro. And I thrive in those scenarios because of what I've experienced through active addiction. Bro, there was times where I was, like, super dope sick, didn't have a dollar to my name, walking around 441, and I just wasn't, like what I said, like, I wasn't going home. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't going home empty-handed. I was going to find somebody who was going to give me $20. And more times than not, I found someone to give me $50.
You know, the crazy thing about that is, like, I see myself in that character too. Is like, if it is this the last option, it's gonna happen. And it's a good mentality used in the right channel, because it's like last episode, and it's gonna say so many great things. Is Bryan said there's a profound old story about this guy who, with his ship, and I want to say the right story, but the moral was that one person said, we can't burn the ship because we have to, what if we didn't get back?
Burn the boats.
He ended up killing that guy, and then he said, we're burning the boats because there's no other option. You know, and that mentality is...
For sure, 1,000%. And you know, in a lot of books, like they have that story where it's like burning the boats, where there's no plan B, and a lot of people live their life, well, like, if this doesn't work out, this is what we're gonna do. And a lot of times, if you want to be successful, you kind of have to go all in and be willing to take the risk that if this doesn't work, we might die. You know what I mean? If this doesn't work, like, there are going to be crazy consequences, but we're going to try. We're going to die fighting, you know? And I think that with that active addiction, there's, like, a really unhealthy way that I went about it, because I destroyed my family, I destroyed myself. But there's a way to use those same qualities and turn them into assets. And what I've experienced in active addiction was resilience, trust, faith, all these principles that I use now. They were just in the wrong thing, you know?
No, it's great stuff, Bryan. I mean, I appreciate you telling, you know, myself and anybody who has the honor of listening, is they're gonna learn something from you, man. They're gonna learn something from what you're saying right now. So it's appreciated. And a couple last questions for you would be, now, how do you define the word happy? Like, I ask entrepreneurs and ask business owners, like, what's your take on that word in life?
So I just, like when you talk to people, they always say like, I just want to be happy. I just think it's so crazy to me. So like I've read, I read Eckhart Tolle. I just want to say like The Power of Now changed my life. The 4 Agreements changed my life so much that when you go to my treatment center, you get one. Like every single person gets the 4 Agreements, Eckhart Tolle, dude, I used to be obsessed. Like when I say that I had a foundation before I made money, I was such like a weirdo when I had like 2 years clean, 3 years clean, 4 years clean before I made money, that I read every single Eckhart Tolle book. I used to buy his DVDs and listen to his DVDs. Like I really invested time into my spiritual foundation before I even thought about making extra money. So in Eckhart Tolle's book, he really talks about how happiness is like this flame that comes and goes, and that like it's not really that important, and it's unrealistic to be happy all the time. So some people want to be happy, but if someone called you and said your mom died, you wouldn't be happy. It would be weird if you were happy. So a lot of times people are chasing happiness, and it's unpractical, and it's kind of childish to want to be happy all the time. Children want to be happy all the time. There are times where being happy is not even an option and shouldn't be an option. If you're really busting your ass, sometimes you're not going to feel good at all. So what I try to tell myself is that it doesn't really matter how I'm feeling. What's more important is how I'm doing. So sometimes I'm doing good, but I'm not feeling good. And a lot of times I'm feeling good, but I'm not doing good. Because if I'm eating ice cream and out all night and whatever, I'm feeling good, but I'm not doing good. So what I've found is that there's something way beyond happiness. Like happiness to me is like old technology. This is like, you and me, still riding horses to work, like it was something that as a kid I thought was great, but now that I'm an adult, I strive for something else, which is peace. So for me, I'm looking to be at peace whether I get a phone call that my mom died. Not that I'm happy that she's died, and not that I'm sad that she's died, is that I understand this is a fact that's going on, and I'm going to have some rough emotions, but I could still be sad, grieve, and have peace, and not turn it into self-sabotaging.
Oof.
Because I don't want to self-sabotage when things go bad, because that's what I did in active addiction. In active addiction, I'd be on drugs, and someone would give me some bad news, and it's like having a flat tire, getting out of the car, and stabbing the other 3 tires,
It's like you're always going to be triggered no matter what happens in life.
1,000%.
Yeah, no, that's great advice for anybody listening, because...
And the thing with peace is that you don't need anything to be... Like, to be happy, we say, oh, well, I need this to be happy. To have peace, you just, like, that's it, you got it.
You wake up, you're grateful,
yeah,
right?
It's there the whole time.
Whatever
you don't
happens,
need
happens.
anything. Like, so that's what I'm really looking for. Like, so when I do my goals, I don't say I'm happy. Because I think that if you have peace, happiness kind of flows through you throughout the day naturally.
Right. And I want to say one thing, because a mentor told me this quote, and I say to people now, and he told me, he said, Danny, happiness to him is there's no place I'd rather be than right here, right now.
1,000%.
So it's just the moment.
So I truly believe that hell is being here and wanting to be there. Whatever that is for you. Whether you're in the C class and you want to be in the S class, or you're in the S class and you want to be in the Huracan, or you're in the $500,000 house and you want to be in the $1 million house, or you're an employee and you want to be an employer, or you're an employer and you want to be a freelancer, like whatever it is your inability to accept the here and now. And there's a difference between striving for those things and letting it take away your peace in the moment now. So you can still want the next car, but you shouldn't let it get to a point where it changes your self-worth.
It's true, because then you're not in the present, and you're just in the past or in the future, and life should just be in the moment.
1,000%.
I guess I'd like to ask you this, because you do share your voice, and I get to follow you on social media. We'll make sure everyone follows you in 2 ways. One, and they're both great ways. One is your Instagram platforms. You're vocal. what's your take on social media and what?
So I think social media is cool. You know, there's some people that make a living off it. You know, it's changed. But my whole take is that it's just like a gun. It depends on who's using it. You know what I mean? It's just like anything else in life. You know, so you can use it in a real toxic way, or you can use it to like spread a message of hope. You can use it to connect to people around the world. So sometimes people like bash social media, but it's like you can choose to follow girls with big asses, or you could choose to follow Eckhart Tolle. You know what I mean? Like, it's up to you how you use it. So like, and there are some people that don't have social media. My biggest thing with social media is that like there's like these people on social media pretending to be people they're not, like conning people into like scams or whatever. And to be honest with you, I just feel like if it's on social media, it's a scam. You know, I don't believe anybody on social media. Like, because some of the most successful people I know don't even have social media. To me, like, if you're trying to look successful on social media, you automatically are not, you know, because like I know really successful people and they're trying to have people not know who they are. They're trying to pay people to take stuff off the internet about them, you know. So I see a lot of successful people with 10 followers, 100 followers, 200 followers. It's just their close friends because they don't need anything to like, they don't need likes because they already have it in real life. And when you're super successful, you already have 1 million people trying to be your friend anyways. But on social media, I think if used the right way, you can spread positivity, you can connect with people, you can, you know, even like, it's even fun. Like, I love memes, I love like funny videos or whatever. Yeah. And I just think that like, it's really up to the user. Like, it's just like your life. Like, if you hate social media and you have a shitty time on social media and you're always like taking a social media break, like, you probably do that in real life, you know? Like, it's kind of crazy that people let it get to such a point.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I think it's just about how like the brain, like how you get wrapped up in it, and it's usually, if you could find a way to use it healthy, mm-hmm. It could be such a positive. And I know for me, it's been a way to connect to so many people, and you know, which leads me to your podcast too. Mm-hmm. You have an amazing podcast.
Thank you.
Hell Has an Exit. You know, I want people to know. I actually want you to interview someone who's close to me. I feel mm-hmm. like his voice is powerful and whatnot. Tell us a little bit about the show. People know.
So Hell Has an Exit is a show that interviews anyone that has a story of victory, triumph, redemption, resilience. I do a lot of recovering addicts, so I do a lot of people that I personally know. So a lot of, like, it's really hard because I'm sure you have a podcast and people hit you up all the time like, yo, I want to be on the show, you know? So for me, it's like, well, I don't know you, so I can't, like, verify if what you're saying is true.
That's what you meant. Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I don't know, like, how, you know, you could come up here and say, like, you've been to Vietnam and all this stuff. You've never been there. You know, like, I have no idea who these people are. But people on my show, a lot of them, I've known them since I've been clean. So a lot of these people I've met in recovery that have phenomenal stories, that have crazy, insane stories. You know, one of my favorite stories is Rachel B. If anyone's listening, go listen to her story. She has an insane, crazy story. And she's from Florida, a lot of Florida natives. But I've also been in touch with... So my homegirl hit me up and she's like, yo, you got to interview this guy. And I was like, who is he? And she was like, oh, he did like 32 years in prison and he was innocent. And I was like, what? And she's like a close friend, so I vouch for anything she says. And then she hit me up the other day and she was like, oh, you got to do this person. He'd done like 12 years in prison. So I was like, oh, wow, cool. So like, how do you know all these people? And she was like, I'm a part of a podcast that does like wrongful convictions. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So like, I've had a Holocaust survivor on there. I've had a lot of different people on there. So it's basically just a podcast that just shows that not just like, because for me, when I got clean, I would watch Intervention and no one stayed clean. Every single intervention starts off like this. Kelly was once a star athlete. Then she found crystal meth. And then it ends with like, Ashley went to treatment. She AMA'd after 2 days and was never found ever again. Like, that's how the show is. There's no, like, hope or, like, success or, like, you don't see people really staying clean. I used to watch that show and be like, bro, some of these people aren't even that bad of drug addicts. Like, these people aren't even that bad and they can't even stay clean, you know? So when I went to meetings, 12-step meetings, I started to see hundreds of people with crazy stories of years of success. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Long-term double-digit clean time. So my goal is to put more of those stories out there so it doesn't seem so crazy and uncommon.
Oh wow.
You know, because growing up, I thought people that went to rehab was like Lindsay Lohan and like celebrities. I didn't know that regular day people can go to rehab and get clean and stay clean.
And have you come across like people of like high
Uh,
social status or something?
Yeah, you know, like we've had some celebrities like go to meetings and stuff, but meetings are really like a place where like no one really cares. You know, like if you go to LA, like half of the people there are like somewhat famous. Like I went to LA once and this guy was like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" Like not much. And he was wearing like shorts and a t-shirt. And I was like, "Yeah, what do you do for work?" He's like, "Oh, I work with movies." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And he was like, "Yeah, I helped you know, he directed produced The Matrix." And I was like, and I thought he was like lying. I'm like, "Oh, sure you did, bro." You know what I mean? And then he's like, "Yeah, I'm doing 4 right now." And I was like, "Wow." And we started like, I'm obsessed with film. Like if there's 2 things I love is cars and movies.
Mm-hmm.
And we started talking about movies for like an hour, and I was like, "Wow, how cool is that?" Like I'm at some 12-step meeting. There's a guy here who like produced The Matrix, you know.
So, I get my last 2 questions for you would be, what are some movie recommendations then? If
Oh
you're
my
such a movie
God.
of
Let
motivational
me
or
get my
inspiring.
So one thing that I do that I don't know if it's like a good quality or what, but like I write everything down. So like if I have a movie that I like, or I have a list of things, um, let me see. So I would definitely say my number one favorite movie is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. It's just like a classic fire, like it's a Western. I'm not into Westerns, but Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid is just like the best. Young Frankenstein, Café de Flore, The Intouchables is a French movie. Café de Flore is also French. A Prophet. So there's a movie called A Prophet, but it's not spelled F-I-T, it's P-H-E-T. And it's French, and it's like a prison movie. It is so good. It's like one of my favorite prison movies. Incendies, Old Boy, Kids, Sin Nombre, V for Vendetta, Traffic, Closer, Half Nelson, Hard Candy, Magnolia. Then you got Chasing Amy, Reservoir Dogs. I got like a whole list of movies, bro. But like I'm a big fan into like a lot of foreign films. Like there are so many films that are in like another language that people don't even watch because it's subtitled. But like my dream ultimately is to get out of treatment and make films. 1000%.
Well, I can't wait to see that for you, man. It's really been an honor. So, if you could give some piece of advice to somebody, and it doesn't have to be someone who's going through it, it's just somebody who is ambitious, who wants to reach their goals and dreams, and really just wants to be like someone like you after the things that you've been through, what would you say to them?
I mean, I've really got to say, like, a lot of it is work ethic and an inability to give up, like a crazy inability to like see the problem and just focus on the solution and have a good attitude through it. 9 times out of 10, when I'm trying to hire a high level employee that makes 6 figures or plus, I'm not looking for someone with a master's degree. I'm looking for someone who's extremely positive as fuck. Like just weirdly positive. Where like every single day they're in a good mood and they make people around them be in a good mood. That costs $0 and takes 0 school. Like that's really what I'm looking for most of the time, is I just need someone that's crazy positive all the time, that can put people around him in a good mood and knows how to motivate people without being a dick, and knows how to like get people to do their job without being an asshole, who knows how to jump in when they need to jump in, but they also know how to be firm when they're firm. And I just need somebody to have a brain to think about the situation and not get emotional, and not like and be able to sleep on a decision. You know, like a lot of times like my one of my best qualities is that I don't get emotional, and I'll take everyone's inventory and I'll say like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And then I'll do a pros and cons list, and then I'll say, well, I appreciate your feedback, and then I'll sleep on it, and then I'll make a decision. And I'll make sure that everyone had some type of part in it. You know, reading, bro, like I have so many books that I've read that have changed how I operate at work, how I operate with my friends, how I think about like my family. You know, just even like therapy. I think like everyone should go to therapy. I think it's insane that people live their whole lives and like don't have one therapy session.
Yeah, I think it's like that society thing, because someone told me before, they're like, yeah, why don't you go talk to someone? I'm like, that's too foofy for me, you know. I don't know who to trust to talk to, you know. It kind of gets you, your defenses come up. But no, I appreciate it, because, you know, just listen to what Bryan's saying, guys. He's someone who's, you know, been through a lot thus far in life. How old are you?
30.
He's 30 years old. He's found a lot of business success, but you can see it's way bigger than that. So Bryan, I just want to say thank you, brother,
1000%.
so much. And I know we grew up right next to each other
crazy,
for just a
right?
little bit, to then see how our paths, and then we watch each other grow in business. And I'm just looking forward to building our friendship more, and building hopefully some business together. So thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Thank you, bro.
God bless.
Appreciate it.
Millionaire Voices, guys. You heard it first. Bryan Alzate, baby.